Michael Jackson, known to the world as the King of Pop, carried a past shrouded in mystery. His Neverland Ranch, often portrayed as a magical retreat, held secrets buried deep within its grounds. As the sun set over the sprawling estate, shadows stirred, bringing memories and fears to life. December 2005. The bitter cold wrapped itself around Neverland Ranch as the last rays of sunlight faded behind the hills. Michael Jackson sat alone in the grand living room of his mansion. The crackling fireplace illuminated the room, casting long shadows across the walls. Yet, despite the warmth, the air felt heavy, oppressive even. In the corner of the room stood an old chest. Its presence, unnoticed for years, suddenly demanded attention. Curiosity gnawed at him. As he opened it, the scent of aged paper and dust wafted into the room. Inside were faded VHS tapes, letters, and a black leather-bound journal titled Lost Memories. Flipping through its pages, Michael felt a chill run down his spine. Scribbled on the margins of one page were the words, "The shadow is watching you." The room, once warm, seemed to grow colder. Michael looked around, his heart pounding. Though he was alone, the sensation of being watched was undeniable. The words in the journal pulled him back to 1982, the year he recorded the Thriller album. The sessions had been intense, marked by sleepless nights and long hours in the studio. Yet it wasn't just exhaustion that had haunted those days. During the recording process, strange occurrences plagued the studio. Michael remembered hearing whispers on the playback tapes, soft, unintelligible voices layered beneath his vocals. Quincy Jones had dismissed them as technical glitches, but Michael was unconvinced. The voices felt deliberate, almost alive. One night, while working late in the studio, the lights suddenly flickered and went out. Standing in the pitch-black room, Michael sensed movement. Turning toward the corner, he saw a shadowy figure. It lingered for a moment, then disappeared as quickly as it had appeared. That night, he didn't speak of what he'd seen, but the memory stayed with him. Back in Neverland, after discovering the journal, Michael began noticing strange occurrences around the estate. Security guards reported hearing footsteps echoing through the hallways late at night. Upon investigation, they always found empty corridors. For Michael, the disturbances were more personal. One evening, while combing his hair in front of the mirror, he caught sight of something unsettling. A shadowy figure stood behind him, its features obscured. When he turned around, there was no one there. Yet, the shadow remained in the mirror for a brief moment before fading away. One morning, Michael decided to take a walk by the estate's pond. The water was unnaturally still, reflecting the overcast sky above. As he gazed into the pond, his own reflection stared back. But then, other faces began to appear, faces of children. They looked up at him, their expressions somber, their mouths moving as if whispering. Startled, Michael stumbled back. When he looked again, the faces were gone. But along the edge of the pond, he noticed small, muddy footprints leading away into the trees. The footprints were fresh, yet there were no children on the estate that day. That night, Michael dreamt of his childhood. He saw himself as a young boy, rehearsing endlessly under the harsh supervision of his father, Joe Jackson. In the dream, Michael fled into the safety of his imagination, creating an imaginary world filled with laughter and friends. Yet, these dreamlike memories took a darker turn. He stood in a version of Neverland, surrounded by children. At first, they played happily, but soon their faces became shadowy and distorted. They turned to him, their voices rising in unison. "Why did you forget us?" Michael awoke in a cold sweat. The dream had felt too real, the voices still echoing in his ears. The following evening, Michael heard music drifting from the old amusement park on the property. The rides had been inactive for years, yet the haunting melody of a carousel filled the air. Drawn by the sound, he made his way to the park. The carousel was spinning, its lights flickering weakly. As Michael approached, he recognized the melody. It was a song he had composed as a child, but never shared with anyone. His heart pounded as he stepped closer. In the center of the carousel, a figure appeared. It was a boy, no older than 10, dressed in a white shirt and black pants. The boy's face was familiar. It was Michael's own, a reflection of his younger self. But the face was wrong. It was featureless, a void where eyes, nose, and mouth should have been. The figure spoke in a soft, chilling voice. "Why did you leave us behind?" Michael stammered, I didn't mean to. I had to grow up." The figure tilted its head. "But you forgot us. You forgot who you were." Before Michael could respond, the carousel stopped abruptly. The figure vanished, leaving only silence. Michael couldn't shake the events of that night. The journal, the whispers, the shadows, they all pointed to something he had long tried to bury. He took the journal and buried it near the pond, hoping to lay the past to rest. But Neverland was never the same. The once lively estate now felt like a hollow shell, its magic replaced by an eerie stillness. Michael avoided the amusement park and the pond, but the sensation of being watched never left him. Even as the world danced to his music, Michael battled his inner demons. The shadows of his past were always there, lingering just out of sight. Who knows? Perhaps in the quiet nights of Neverland, the shadow still waits.